I'm making this video to hopefully help you guys understand the posting process more. I am going to work on problem 2.2 from your textbook, and I have the transactions already listed here. I'm not focusing on transactions. If you want to learn more about transactions, I've made another video that you can find in the module for chapter 2 about debits and credits that goes over transactions. So the transactions are already done. We're going to post just 3 different entries into the T accounts to show you how that works, and then we're going to post all of these into formal ledger accounts. So when we use T accounts, we say, okay, here auto expense, that's the one I need to post. I find my auto expense T account over here. There is a $1,500 debit. Debit means left, remember, so I simply put that $1,500 over here on the left side of the T account for the auto expense. I am going to tie this to that particular entry by putting the letter G, because this is transaction G right here. Okay. Now, if I had a chart of accounts, or if I had account numbers in any way, I would put an account number here, but I don't. So I'm simply going to put an X to show that I did post that into the T accounts. Next, I go to miscellaneous expense. I'm going to do the same thing. There's a $400 debit. So I put a $400 debit, and I'm going to put the letter G over here to show that it came from transaction G, and I'm just going to mark this that I posted it. I come over here to the next line. Cash needs a $1,900 credit. Credits go on the right, so I'm going to give it that amount of a credit. I'm going to put G again to show it came from transaction G, and mark that I finished it. My next line is office salaries expense. I need a $2,800 debit to office salaries expense. So I'm going to put it in there, and this is from transaction F, excuse me, not F, H. I put my H there, and I mark it as posted. Cash now needs a $2,800 credit. Put my $2,800 credit in place, and I'm going to put the letter H to tie it to the transaction. Put an X here to show that I've posted it. Okay, one more transaction. Supplies expense. Supplies expense is over here. I forgot to take it out before I started, so let's just pretend it wasn't there. I put the $10.50 into place. I put the I here to show that it's been posted. Okay, and supplies, the asset needs a credit, and likewise it's already there. So that's where this 10.5 and the I is going to come from, right there. And all of those are posted into the T accounts. Let me quickly get the balance for cash right here. Okay, I have to add all the debits up and subtract all of the credits. With Excel here, I'm going to say this just equals, I'm going to type all this out so you can see it better. 7, help if I typed it correctly. Okay, those are my 2 debits. Now I'm going to subtract all of the credits. Okay, that shows you the flow of the math. The sum of the debits minus the sum of the credits gives us this debit balance right here of $20,150. Okay, now I've already done the unadjusted trial balance. Just to remind you how it works, I take the final balance for all these accounts and put it in the appropriate debit or credit column. Here's my cash balance. Supplies is $12.50. It's here. Here's my accounts payable balance, moved to the credit side. My capital is moved to the credit side here. All of them have the final balances in place, and then I add up each column independently, and they should equal the same for my unadjusted trial balance. Not going to spend any more time on that, because the point of this video is not the trial balance, but the posting process. So that's how we post into our T accounts. Next, we're going to take the same set of transactions, and we're going to post them into more formal general ledger accounts. Okay, same set of transactions we had right here. I have made ledger accounts here in our Excel spreadsheet, so we can transfer everything over here and you can watch. So very first line here is cash. I have to find my cash account, which is right here, and I need to transfer the information. So on 8/1, and I have entirely made up these dates, by the way. The problem didn't actually have dates. So on 8/1, and I don't put anything in the description. There comes a point when you may need this column, but it's not now. At In Chapter 3, we will learn about adjusting entries. If you have an adjusting entry, you would put adjusting. If you're putting in a beginning balance into something, you might write the word beginning. In Chapter 4, we'll learn about closing entries, and you would put the word closing right there. But just for regular entries, we don't do a thing. Okay? Now, posting reference. Every one of these come from page 1, so we're going to put a 1 here to show it came from General Journal, page 1. And these first 2 columns right here match the transaction exactly. There's nothing here calling them transaction columns, but that's what they are. So if your transaction has a $17,500 debit, then you're going to put a $17,500 debit here in that transaction column. Now, this is intended to be a running total. Since there was no cash to begin with, then our balance at this point happens to be the same as the transaction. Okay, this is account 11. We can see that there. And I've made up those account numbers for purposes here. You won't find them on the handout if you were following that handout. So I put that 11 over here, and I am done with that row of information. So now in the future, if I see this 17.5 and I want to know why I gave it a debit, I can say, oh, let me go find journal page 1. I find journal page 1, and I can find that transaction. If I'm looking at my journal and I want to know, did I properly post that, this 11 right here indicates to me that I did take that to account 11. So now let's move to capital. Okay, capital needs a credit of 17.5. My capital account is right here. I'm going to put the date into place again, and it is still from page 1, and I need a credit of 17.5. That means I now have a balance of 17.5 that's also a credit. Okay, this is account 31. Put my 31 right there. Now I move to supplies. On 8.3 I have a supplies debit of $2,300. Page 1, debit $2,300, and a balance of $2,300. Okay, it's account 12. I put my 12 in place here, and I move to the next line. Okay, I need to find accounts payable, and it's right down here. Accounts payable has a credit of $2,300. You can see right there. So on 8.3 from page 1, I give accounts payable a $2,300 credit, and it has a $2,300 balance. Okay, now so far all the individual transactions amount and the balance have been the same because it's the only transaction. Now, oh, sorry, I forgot to put my 21 in accounts payable. Okay, now I'm going to get to cash. Cash is going to have a second transaction now. On 8.7 from page 1, cash has a 13.3 debit entry. Okay, that's right here. I had 17.5. I just added 13.3 to it. So what is my new balance in cash? I'm going to take the 17.5 and add the 13.3. So there's the math for you to see. I now have $30,800 in my cash account. And I take the 11 over here to cash, and I'm done with cash. Okay? Again, this is the individual transaction. This is a running balance. Fees earned. Let's find fees earned. It's right here. Okay? Fees earned on 8.7 from page 1 have a credit of 13.3. So I put my transaction amount and my new balance in there. It is account 41. I put a 41 there. Rent expense. Okay, that's 51 right here. So let's put our date on 8/10 from page 1. Rent expense has a debit of $3,000, which gives me a debit balance of $3,000. I take the account number 51 and move it over here. Okay, now I'm back to cash. Okay, cash needs a credit of $3,000. So on 8/10 from page 1, I am going to give cash a credit of $3,000. Now I need a new balance. Cash has a normal debit balance. You're not going to flip over to this credit column just because you have a credit entry here. That's not how it works. It's going to be a debit. It's just going to be a smaller debit. We currently have a balance of $30,800, okay? and that credit to cash has the effect of reducing it, so we subtract the $3,000. Our new debit balance in cash is $27,800. Okay? It just got smaller. This is account 11. I put my 11 right here, and cash is done there. Accounts payable, we're going to pay off part of our accounts payable. It's down here on 8/15. From page 1, I have a debit to accounts payable of that amount. Okay, and this is still a credit balance account. It's just the credit balance is going to go down because we have reduced it. So if we owed $2,300 and we have now reduced the amount we owe by $1,150, our new credit balance in accounts payable is $11,050. We paid half of it off. Okay, and we take that 21, move it over to here, and that's done. Okay, now we're back to cash. Cash on 8/15. From page 1, we're going to give a credit of 1150. Okay, and that's a reduction again. We had $27,800 in cash. We're taking out $1150. Our new debit balance in cash is $26,650. And I move my 11 over here to show that I posted that number. Now, just to remind you again, partly what this referencing system is for. You know, if I were to leave and go to a meeting, go to lunch or whatever, in this position, when I came back and I saw all of these with these numbers, I would know that I had done those already. I posted them. I would know that this is where I need to pick up because it does not have a posting reference. So now I find my drawing account, and where did I put it? Right here. Okay, drawing on 8/20 from page 1 has a debit of $1,800, which gives me a debit balance of $1,800. That's account number 32, and I move it over here, and I'm done with that line. Okay, everything is line by line. Don't try to muddy the waters any by looking at the rest of the transaction. At this point, it doesn't matter. You're just simply transferring that one line. So now we're going to transfer cash. On 8/20, we have from page 1 an $1,800 credit. Okay, we had $26,650, excuse me, in cash. We are reducing it by $1,800. So how much do we now have in cash? We have $24,850. We take the 11 to here to show that we posted that line of information. Okay, now we're at auto expense. Auto expense is over here, and we have on 8/27 from page 1. Now let me mention, I only have one page set up here. If I had 2 pages and we were on the second page, I would put a 2. You know, whatever page I'm on, I'm just going to change this posting reference to go with that. But we're on page 1, so I'm going to stick with that. We have a $1,500 debit to our auto expense. It gives me a balance of $1,500. I'm going to take this 54 and put it right here. I was hesitating for a moment because I just realized this could be confusing. This 54 refers to the account number. This balance is actually referring to this debit and credit right here. So it's not like balance 54. Those are independent thoughts right there. Okay, anyway, miscellaneous expense is down here. And that's 8/27 from page 1. $400 debit to miscellaneous, giving us a debit balance of $400. And the account number for miscellaneous is 41. Excuse me. It should not be 41. It should, I'll change that number. Let's say it's 57. I made up all these account numbers too. I just forgot to change that one. Hold on. Okay, now it's account 57. It can't be 41 because remember, 41 starts with a 4, and anything with a 4 has to be a revenue account, which is why fees earned is actually account 41 in this example. All of our expenses and costs have to start with account numbers that have a 5. Now we're moving down to cash. Cash here has a credit of $1,900. So on 8/27, on page 1, we're going to give it a cash credit of $1,900. In cash, I had $24,850. I now spent another $1,900. My new cash balance is $22,950. Okay, and that is still account 11. Put my 11 in here. Move down to office salaries expense. Here's office salaries expense, and I have this dated 8/28. From page 1, office salaries expense has a $2,800 debit, which gives me a debit balance of $2,800. I've set this up as account 53. I put my 53 here to show it's been posted. Back to cash again. Cash on 8/28 from page 1 has a credit of $2,800. Now I find my balance again. I had $22,950. I'm going to subtract $2,800. I have a new debit balance of $20,150 in cash. Okay, I take the 11 and I put it in place here to show that I transferred that piece of information. And I'm going to go down to our last transaction. Supplies expense is right here. On 8/31, I must have went and counted my supplies and realized they needed to be changed because I've used some of them up. So I have a supplies expense amount of $10.50, giving it a balance of $10.50 because it's the only number in there. That is account 56. Now I am adjusting my supplies because I need to take some of them out. They're no longer there. Supplies are here. On 8/31 from page 1, crediting supplies by $1,050. I'm going to update my balance. I had $2,300 of supplies. I have used up $10.50. I now have $1,250 left in my supplies account. Okay, I'm going to do some swapping back and forth to show you the unadjusted trial balance that we did in the other problem so that you can see it's actually the same. Let me see if I can put these side by side. Just a second. Okay, this should work for now. Oh no, don't do that. Okay, it'll overlap a little bit, but that'll be okay. Here's our cash balance, $20,150. It goes in. It doesn't matter if you're using T accounts or if you're using general ledger accounts. The trial balance is going to work the same way. Here's my supplies at $12.50. That matches. Here's my credit balance and accounts payable, $11.50. Here's capital, $17.5. The debit balance and drawing, $1,800. $13.3 in my fees earned account. Then I have a $3,000 amount, $2,800, $1,500, $1,050, and $400. So every one of these ending balances is exactly the same as we did when we use the T accounts, because it's not going to have any effect on the balance. It's just the presentation into the ledger accounts. Is it T accounts or is it ledger accounts? Ultimately, you're going to end up with the same answers, and we, would still total up the columns in here and get the same thing. Okay, so hopefully that helps you see the difference between posting to the T accounts and posting to the general ledger accounts. Just a final look. This is what it looked like here in T accounts. And over here is what it ended up looking like in our formal ledger accounts. If you were going to get into somebody's accounting records, you're not going to find T accounts. You're going to find these general ledger accounts. This is more proper formal accounting. Again, the T accounts are good for looking at things theoretically. They help very nicely show the balance of the accounting equation. So we can see everything going on the rights and the lefts and everything in that. Hopefully that helps, and shoot me an email or an inbox message from Canvas if you have any more questions.